Hello, my name is Mara and welcome to Books Like Whoa. I've got a little bit of haul action for you today. Compared to last month, this will be nothing, but still a respectable number of books, most of which are books that I've already read, but a few new ones as well. So let's just dive right into it. So first, let's talk about some books that I got at the used bookstore. So I was kind of documenting my latest adventure to the used bookstore on Instagram stories, but for those of you who didn't see that, I ended up with, I think, $86 in trade from all the books that I took in. And then I only acquired 3 books, so I still have a lot of trade at that used bookstore, but the 3 that I did get, I was really excited to have. So the first is Where the Wild Things Bite by Molly Harper. Molly Harper writes contemporary paranormal romance that I think verges into sort of paranormal chick lit, even though I hate that term. It's a little, there's a lot of world building usually happening. Usually there's a lot of like family members involved. So it's more in sort of like the Kristen Higgins end of romance as opposed to like, I don't know, the E.L. James end of romance in terms of like world building and things happening besides the 2 main characters. But anyway, this is a series that I really like, and this copy is practically brand new, so excited to have this. And then I got a paperback, unfortunately, because I don't think that this book actually has a hardback version, but The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teicholz. This, along with Why We Get Fat, would be the 2 books I would recommend to anyone thinking about eliminating sugar and like refined carbs basically from their diet. I think that this is really good. It's essentially a history of how fat came to have such a terrible reputation in the US in particular, and why that is basically built on a lot of really bad science and a lot of very specific special interests. So I think that this is a really good book, and I'm glad to have an actual copy of it. And then, probably most excitingly, I found a copy of the Everyman's Library Best of Wodehouse anthology. So this has been on my list of sort of replacement hardback for paperback. It's not a one-to-one replacement because the anthology that I have in paperback, which I believe is called, The Most of P.G. Wodehouse, it's not the exact same stories, but it has a lot of overlap, and for books that do not exist in these Penguin hardback cloth editions, the classics that I'm trying to get the Everyman's Library edition. So I'm excited to have found this for free because I had trade as opposed to having to pay retail for it. So this was probably my best find at the used bookstore. And speaking of Why We Get Fat, I bought Why We Get Fat by Gary Taubes from Amazon. It was on a little bit of a sale, and I kind of looked at the price history and realized this is about as good as it gets for hardback on this particular book, unless I happened upon it on Book Outlet, and I just decided I didn't want to wait to do that. So this book has literally changed how I'm living my life. So really recommend this. I found this to be a really interesting and compelling read, and it's definitely got a lot of science and history in it, but I don't think it's unapproachable. So if you're at all interested in the topic of kind of like sugar, carbs, biological processes, all that kind of stuff, this is super interesting. And then the rest of these books are all from Book Outlet. I actually, if you'll believe it, have another package from Book Outlet that is like super taking forever to get here that I should be able to include in this, but I can't, so that'll be in next month's. But anyway, a few more from Book Outlet, most of which I've actually already read, so at least I'm not doing too much damage to my TBR. So just to continue the theme of my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory-ness with food stuff, I've got Pure White and Deadly by John Yudkin. This is sort of like considered to be, I think, basically a classic in the genre, which is maybe why it's like a Penguin edition. And it was one of the first and kind of like only voices of dissent against stupid keys in the 50s and 60s. So I'm very interested to read this because it's referenced a lot in the books that I've been reading recently. And then also The Calorie Myth by Jonathan Bailor. Don't know a lot about this, but I've heard good things, so happy to have that as well. So the 2 other books that I got that I've not read yet are, first of all, we've got Writing the Blockbuster Novel by Albert Zuckerman. Again, this is a very frequently cited book in the kind of genre of books about writing, and I was, it was a nice copy, and it was on Book Outlet, and I thought, yeah, this is one I've always sort of meant to get to. This will sort of spur me on to do that. Oh, and then I lied. This is not actually from Book Outlet. This is from Book of the Month, but this is Artemis by Andy Weir, which is a recent release, and I've read the first first few chapters and really enjoyed what I've read so far. So actually maybe this afternoon I'll polish this off. I might have to do that. But I've really enjoyed what I've read of this so far, and yeah, it's sort of like a space heist. So I always like a good genre blend, as you know if you watch my channel with any frequency. I like it when authors sort of mix things up like that. And then, to finish things off, I have 4 books that I've already read that basically I was converting to hardback or acquiring in hardback, and these are all books that I really, really enjoy. So the first is The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis. This polished off my replacement of my paperbacks with this version of hardback, so I'm very happy to have these in like a much more permanent form, and this is a very formative series for me. So yeah, Silver Chair, C.S. Lewis is a great one. Another children's classic that I got, which is also very influential on me, that I love, is A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline, and I believe this is like the 50th anniversary edition or something like that, but I'm tickled to have it. I mean, this is just a fantastic book. If you've not read it, I highly, highly recommend it. And then YA-wise, I got Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. You guys have heard me talk so much about this series. It's one of just probably my favorite series. Well, I started the In Death series this year, so this isn't my favorite new series of the year, but it's up there. It's probably second. And yeah, I really want there to be more books of this. I now only need the first book in the series, which is The Naturals, in hardback, and then I will have the whole series in hardback, so soon. And finally, last but not least, I have been looking for this book in hardback at a good price for years. And when I saw the Book Outlet had one copy of it in a cover that I liked and in the format I wanted, I jumped right on that. And that is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. What can I say about this book that has not already been said? It is an American classic. It is an American treasure. This is something that I don't think you're allowed to graduate from high school in the US without having read. If you somehow managed to do that, definitely let me know, what forms you filled out, what strings you pulled, because this is essentially like required reading. This and The Great Gatsby, I feel like if you make it through school without having read them, like you were in some sort of weird program that is unpatriotic and un-American. No, I'm just teasing. But this is just a fantastic book. If you've not read it, you should. That is really just sort of the black bottom line on this one. And I'm so happy to have it in such a pretty edition. It has deckled edges. And yeah, I got this for a very reasonable price. So a win all around. So I think that's gonna do it for my little haul for the month of November. Like I said, it was a little smaller than normal. I think that my hauls probably will be smaller for the next couple of months because there's a very good chance that I am moving, and you guys know how I feel about moving books. I don't like doing it. It's the worst part of being a book nerd. So I'm gonna try to like cool my jets a little bit and keep things pretty reasonable here for the next few months until I confirm whether or not that is happening. But if I am moving, that means all kinds of fun logistics for this channel, but let's just not even think about that right now because I just finished driving back from my parents' house. I've been in the car all day, and I don't have the brain space to really contemplate that right now. So that does it for me. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. All of that information is listed in the description box below. I also just want to mention, I always list every book I talk about in the description box below. So if you ever have a moment of like, what did she say? Which book was that? Who's the author? Whatever. Check down there. I have like a lot of information in my description boxes. So that's a side note. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please do like and subscribe. But I think that will do it. Besides that, yeah, I hope you guys are having a fantastic week, and I will just talk to you on Thursday. Bye!